Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video, and today we are doing a book review for StormDancer by J. Kristoff. This is a hard R, this is rated M, this is all the gruesome blood and gore. So this book was definitely really intense. I wasn't a huge fan of it from the beginning. It really kind of takes a while to sort of pick up. It's engaging, but the way that it's engaging you makes you want to put the book down, because the world that J. Kristoff is describing is really horrible and like disgusting. It's really filthy, and I really didn't like it at first, and it was really quite a negative. But by the end of the book, it really worked out, just because there are moments when you're not in the really polluted part of the world, and it helps you like appreciate it and feel really refreshed. And then when you go back to the polluted part of the world, you understand what the characters are fighting for and why it's so important. So I'm going to give a brief non-spoiler overview of some of my feelings and then get into more of the spoiler talk. Because honestly, a lot of the stuff that really made me choose and decide on how I felt about it was all in the spoilers. So if you kind of want a brief overview, and then if you've already read the book and then want to hear like my more deeper thoughts about it, or don't really care, I want to hear the spoilers anyways, that'll be towards the end. So first off, what I feel is a big negative from a lot of the other reviews is the inspiration that it's taken from. So a lot of the negative reviews are talking a lot about how, I guess, to Japanese culture and like the people who actually understand what he's supposed to be coming from, they really didn't like it. I think the worst stuff I kind of saw was they were talking a lot about the way he uses words. So the way he actually uses some Japanese sayings or words or language isn't correct. So I'm not Japanese myself, and I guess you can just, mock it up to, Western ignorance. But of course I didn't see this issue because I didn't understand the language that well. I saw some other people sort of take it farther though. Like one person even said it sounds like it's like the equivalent of, if you set a book in Italy and you run into like Greek gods and the main characters like Mario and Luigi and you're eating like spaghetti and stuff like that. I don't know, but I feel like they made it sound worse than it actually was. And honestly, like I still didn't mind it. I was really expecting stuff to stand out as really off or like cliche, but I guess again, since I'm a Western audience reader, I actually really liked it. There was stuff I recognized. It talks a lot about Raijin and like Izanami, Izanagi, like some of like the Japanese gods. And I thought it was pretty cool. And the way he uses some of the words, you could use like context clues to understand what he's talking about. So it's not like he was throwing out like random Japanese stuff you didn't really understand. Some of the stuff I did Google just because I was curious. But there's also a glossary in the back. But like for instance, like someone would pull out a knife and they would call it a tsurugi or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well I understand it's like a knife, but I'm sort of curious about what it kind of looks like, and so I ended up looking up. Fun fact, a lot of the stuff you look up in this book, if you Google it, you'll probably find like Naruto related things. But yeah, so that was I think the main reason why a lot of people rated it really low, and that honestly has nothing to do with my rating at all. Like I said, if like I'm Italian, and honestly I feel like if someone did this with Italian culture, I wouldn't be upset. It would be more akin to someone writing about how, they're living in a place that sounds a lot like Venice, and they do eat certain foods of Italian culture, which doesn't bother me. I mean, you're in Italy, you're gonna eat different foods like that, and like they would probably use curses, and they probably pray to the gods like Pluto and Apollo and like Neptune and stuff like that. So it's just I honestly think it's interesting. I'd be like, yeah, hell, give me some representation. I love my Roman culture or whatever. I don't know, it wasn't really a big deal to me, but again, I'm not Japanese, so take that with a grain of salt. To my opinions on the actual book, what I didn't like about it, as I said earlier, the world is terrible.
Oh wow. I am disgusted. You better talk to her before I do, because I'm hurt feelings.
In a good way. Kristoff did such a great job describing like this absolutely disgusting world, and it will make you want to flee it. Like some of the characters as well that he wanted you not to like, he did a really good job describing them in a way that made you absolutely fucking hate them. Like, I did not want to deal with them at all. I was really rooting for their death. I couldn't wait for them to be gone. Sometimes I feel like he really stretches some of his plot lines out a bit. Like, I think the book wasn't even really that long, but even then, the book still felt too long. Like, some of the plot lines, I was like, holy crap, can we, like, pick this up and get going? And that negatively affected me a little bit in terms of the bad characters. Because it's like, okay, I already hate them. And it's like another scene of them doing bad shit, another scene of them being awful. So it's just, the book didn't have a decent flow of like highs and lows. Like, you don't always have to write a book like this, but I feel like it's really good to have, like, you know, a win followed by a loss, followed by a win, followed by a loss, you know, to kind of like not keep it so stagnant. And I honestly feel like the main characters could never catch a break. It was always like downhill. I feel like the characterization is done pretty well. Most of the characters don't seem two-dimensional. They are layered. And that's actually completely separate from my biggest problem with the book, and the fact that, yes, there is characterization, but the way he actually developed the characters, I really didn't like. So he did something with them. I just didn't think that I liked the way that he went with them. I feel like the action was really intense and graphic. He's a really good writer. The way he does like similes and metaphors and like, you know, the artistic flow of the book and like making you see like him painting the picture in your head was done like really well. There was a couple sentences where I was just like, wow, that's a statement, and it was well done. My one complaint about this is he kept using like kiss a lot. You know how you usually say like, oh, the breeze will kiss at your skin or something like that. He would use it for a lot of things. Like, a lot of things were kissing other things and not just lips. So I'm just kind of just like, you need to calm down with that. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the beginning drags on a little too long. It doesn't really pick up till about page 100, and that's when it finally starts going somewhere. And funny enough, the last 100 pages also seems to drag on. So it's like you're kind of introduced, you understand what's happening, and he really stretches it out to like get to his point. So I feel like some of the moments where I'm just like, this is unnecessary. We need to like get through this. This has been going on too long. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is the pacing wasn't great. It was pretty bad. My other negative, and this actually usually happens a lot because I'm starting to learn, I really don't like the way people write romance sometimes, but his romance was completely unnecessary. It's literally just thrown in and uninteresting, and you really won't care. It honestly could not have been there at all and just kept everyone as friends, and it would have felt exactly the same. And I'll talk about that more in my spoilers, a lot more in the spoilers. And I touched on this briefly just a second ago, but I feel like the biggest fault is a lot of the missed opportunities and mismanagement of his character's plots. So yeah, in terms of non-spoilers, that's really it. It really wasn't that bad of a book. I ended up liking it more than I thought I did, but after I kind of wrote my whole review for it, I originally gave it 4 stars, and I thought I really had way too much to complain about, and ended up knocking it down to 3 stars. But if you're interested, and this is where a lot of my like deeper thoughts and feelings get into the story, I want to talk about some of the spoilers. So some of the negative ones, let's get right out of the way, are Kin and Hiro, the 2 guys of the story. If you don't know, Kin is one of the characters that's in like the automaton suit. So he's like in this metal suit, and he's never been out of it, and he ends up like falling in love with Yukiko. And Hiro is the samurai with like the sea green eyes or whatever. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's in the description of the book, and it's even in the prologue. I don't know why he pushed this sea green eyes character so much. It was really unnecessary. I think he might have thought it originally just was kind of cool, and after he kind of wrote it, he was kind of just like didn't think about making it a big part of the book. I really don't think anyone would have assumed the love between Hiro and Yukiko would even have worked out. I don't think anyone was like, oh yeah, this definitely sounds like it's not going to blow up in her face by the end. So it was kind of awkward to have her basically wet dreaming about Hiro like the whole time until they were united. Like the entire time she's not with him, even though she only met him once. she like won't stop like dreaming about him or something. It's really weird.
I love him.
You love him? You met him Sunday. It's barely Thursday morning. Slow down, crazy. Slow down.
And speaking of hero, I feel like I've grown really tired of this like Bushido code or like samurai code. It might just be because I haven't seen a lot of good representation to it, but I'm really over this like loyal to a fault or blindly being loyal to someone that's awful. This character was just a dumb like red herring basically. I did like how in the end that, you know, Yukiko wasn't too torn up, that he basically betrayed her and ended up just like telling him off. It was a little late, but it's kind of better late than never. And just to back up in case anyone doesn't know what the samurai code is, it's essentially like warriors who just basically give their life to like their leader essentially, and like they'll do anything for them. It's like it's really honorable, and if they end up dying, like the leader ends up dying, then they have to kill themselves, or they can't betray them, or they'll kill themselves. And it's like they're super loyal to it. Again, toward the fact that like even if they're wrong or horrible people, they still follow them. And that's like I feel like a really big cliche in writing is these people that are always like blindly following these really awful people. Now going to the third love interest, or the third person in that triangle, Kin. I didn't understand why he had to have fallen in love with Yukiko. Especially since there are 3 books in this series, I feel like it could have waited. I just imagine how beautiful it would have been for this poor kid who like comes out of his like metal suit and like learns to love the world and have this amazing character introduce him to this. He should have been falling in love with himself and the world before he starts focusing on Yukiko.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's really annoying how close this came to a really good character plot, but Kristoff just kind of threw it away because he's literally just focused up on a girl. I feel like these characters and the love was just a way to pad and cause unnecessary drama and issues in the story. And I find all of this way worse than like any like the cultural misrepresentation. Because seriously, once Kin gets out of his suit and almost dies, basically the entire time all he's thinking about is how much he likes Yukiko and how beautiful she is. And of course in the end, Kristoff thinks that we're going to assume he's going to betray them just because he saw Yukiko kissing Hiro, and then like someone clearly betrayed them, and Yukiko's like, oh my god, how could you do this? And I'm just like, the entire time I was like, did anyone actually believe that Kin was going to be bad and betray her? Like, I just really couldn't tell if he actually wanted us to think that. And that's what I'm just saying, I feel like it caused unnecessary strife and almost like he couldn't find a way to get to the climax. So let's move on to the double-edged sword that is Aisha, the Shogun's sister. Again, I feel like this was a huge wasted character, and I thought she was actually really interesting. I feel like it's really rare to find a character that wants to do something good just because how obvious it is, how bad the world is, and they want to change it. The way they describe it is really nice too. They talk about how, you know, people are going with the flow, swimming down a stream together because you want to fit in and be with everyone else. But if you just look up at the horizon, you can't deny that you see a cliff you're all about to go over, and basically everyone needs to turn around and start going against the flow. I thought it was like actually really deep, and that was pretty much like her whole like character, and I was like, that's actually really interesting. Like, I don't mind that. It's like, I want characters who want to do the right thing because it's obvious it's good. It's like someone who is like up on a really high pedestal, or someone that has pretty much all the riches they need, but they don't want to just stay there and get rich and be fat. They want to like do something to change the world. The first thing that kind of diminishes this is by making it obvious that her brother is into her. I feel like it really ruins the whole my life is perfect, but I don't want to see the world suffer, because now she is personally suffering by the Shogun's hand. It was really annoying that he had to bring incest into this, because I really like this whole idea that the princess wanted to do the right thing for the sake of being right, but her brother pining after her was just really annoying. I almost want to say incest is cliche, but not just maybe incest, but the fact that, you know, a strong, powerful woman has to basically be sexually harassed and get revenge for her to like do something in the plot. That's basically what they did here.
No, I totally get it, and that's the thesis.
So he completely went back on what he said. Her life isn't perfect. Her brother is a huge creep to her, and that kind of leads more into that might be why she wants to do it. She's not completely without motivation. And finally, they unceremoniously killed her off screen. It just shows the Shogun like walking up with his face fucked up, and he basically, I guess we can assume that she's dead. Or worse, he probably raped her and then killed her, which is even more unceremonious for her character arc. I almost thought I might have missed a page or something because Kristoff switches point of view a lot, and I assumed there was no way he just killed her off screen because he's switching to all these other people that I don't really care about. Why wouldn't he switch to this girl? But yeah, it was another character with potential, and it was just hugely disappointing. I almost feel like he wanted to just make sure Yukiko was the only strong female, but honestly not even that, because there's Aisha's like handmaiden who's kind of this like OP ninja girl, I guess. I don't know. I just really don't understand what his thought processes was for the way he ended like Aisha's character development and story. I thought Hideo is the like Shogun's like basically assistant and right hand man. I thought his death was satisfying in the end. I actually kind of liked him at first throughout the book because he seemed to like underhandedly sass the Shogun. The way he like talked to him, I imagine it being really sarcastic and sort of dry humor that like the Shogun didn't catch on to or something.
There is something rotten in Denmark, and it's his piss poor attitude.
And I actually thought maybe he was the one that was going to turn against the Shogun. But I guess it kind of turns out he was just sort of lazy and greedy and a horrible person like his nephew, which if you didn't catch on or don't know, the guy with the sea green eyes, he's the nephew of Hideo, which I thought was like a random link because it didn't have anything to do with anything and it didn't really get brought up again. But yeah, so I guess he kind of just dies to a bunch of rats eating him, which was weird. I feel like the biggest surprise was the dad, Masaru, I believe was his name. I didn't really expect to like the dad so much. He's pretty horrible in the beginning. He doesn't seem like a really good father. I was actually fairly surprised and interested when he kept referring to sacrificing for something in the greater good. He kept saying that to his daughter. And you get the assumption that he's talking about sacrificing for the Shogun and like, the empire or whatever. But really he's talking about the greater good being his daughter. He's sacrificing to basically protect his daughter because the Shogun's crazy and going to kill everyone. So I actually thought that was really interesting. It honestly just kept leading to him being a really sad and unfortunate character. Like every reveal we get about him is really depressing. For instance, as I said, he's protecting his daughter. He's basically doing everything for the Shogun. He's pretty much a prisoner to the Shogun to save his daughter. His son actually ends up dying from a snake bite, which you get the impression that happened because he's abusing his powers. He has the same power as Yukiko, who like she can talk to animals, and he apparently used his power to kill, it sounds like honestly Japanese Medusa. It was a snake lady with a bunch of snakes, and so a snake randomly bit his son and he died. So I'm sure he probably feels like he felt really guilty about that because I guess it's like karma that he killed this snake lady and the snake lady killed his son. And then also his wife died with their unborn child. She was actually pregnant when she died. And that's when, and apparently, well, what happened was his wife went to the Shogun, asked if they could let Masaru like leave being a hunter or whatever so that he could basically raise his child that's about to be born. And so the Shogun's response is to murder her and the unborn child and then threaten Yukiko.
He has been kind of hard to deal with lately.
Ophelia, he stabbed your dad through a curtain.
Oh.
So that's when he's like indentured to their servitude or whatever. But he's also talking about how he has this power, the power to like basically control animals. He's had his whole life, but it's really negative and people essentially like them being impure, and he will have to be killed if they find out about it. And then apparently as like the Shogun's hunter, he just hid the fact that he had this power and was basically just telling animals to kill themselves. Like he was saying how he would tell a hawk to like fly into his arrow, or to like a rabbit to run into a trap or something like that. So he just felt really awful about his powers, and that's why he basically got high all the time and drank all the time and sort of just wanted to numb his whole existence. And then of course he gets set in this prison, which sounds really fucking awful for most of the end of the book. And then his girlfriend and his friend come and save him, and then his girlfriend dies right in his arms, which is really sad. The way he actually wrote her death was really beautiful. Like the wording he used, a lot of the way he uses wording is really well done. But then not only that, but at the very end, he's unceremoniously and pretty gruesomely shot in the neck, like in the throat, so he couldn't talk. And I guess he kind of did that so that they could have this special moment where Masaru and Yukiko were both in the minds of the Thunder Tiger, like the Griffin, so that they could like all three talk or talk to each other mentally, and he could like see through their eyes or something like that. And I was like, I mean, yeah, it's a really sweet moment, but you still have to shoot him in the throat to do that. You couldn't have accomplished like any other way. I don't know. It was just a really gruesome book, so I guess I really shouldn't have been surprised. But yeah, that is all for my spoiler discussion. That's all for my review on the StormDancer. Let me know if you guys liked it. I still liked it. I'm probably going to continue on to the next one. I'm intrigued about what happens. I don't know when I'll get to it, though. It won't be super high on my list. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you all next time. Bye.
No, I totally get it, and that's the tea, sis.